This is a walkthrough of why a go-to-market plan is really valuable for you and your team, and some details on what to think about when you're building one. The go-to-market plan is really going to help you deep dive into where your joint product or service fits with your target audience and define the tactics that are really going to engage them. It also gives you that essential layer of focus on whether the plan is a market to, a market with, or a market through. So you enable your teams or your partners to then drive the campaign. For every go-to-market, we use the RACE framework to ensure these tactics fulfill the customer journey from what would typically be the top of the sales funnel right down. The RACE framework is made up of several steps. They are the reach, act, convert, and engage. There's also a pre-step that looks at the planning, and the plan is all about the overall strategy. The reach is the awareness, so how you're going to reach that target audience. And the act is about getting the target audience to have an interaction with your activity. And then convert is all about activity to engage the target audience to convert the sale. And then engage is the final piece, and that's to continue to develop a long-term relationship once you've got that customer on board, and just give them a reminder of why they've chosen you. The go-to-market plan is an excellent basis for then building out your tactics and measurements to build out a report, to optimize and to drive success. And it's going to help you show ROI back to the business. The purpose of the go-to-market plan is that it takes your joint value proposition and core messaging foundation to your target audience right at the core of a campaign. So keeping the RACE model in mind, that's how you're going to communicate the relevant target audience with the right tactics. This flow shows you typically how we would build that information. The joint value proposition at the start then moves to discovery report. Then it moves on again to create that joint value proposition and core messaging foundation to target that audience. And then right at the end here, you'll see there's the go-to-market piece where you're actually executing and measuring and delivering. So every go-to-market is created to cover the key areas you see here. These headlines are needed to make sure that the tactics are right. So you've got the objective, the market fit, target audience, challenges, competition, and sales enablement. This will help you to look at things as they are, but also focus on what you and your partner want to achieve longer term with the activity. We then look at whether it's a market to, a market through, a market with, or even a combination, and then look at the tactics that drop down under each of them where relevant and break them out across that RACE model that we mentioned, and also ensure that the format of everything is relevant to the target audience and will have traction. So for example, if you're targeting the C-level, you want short, snappy content. So that's something we'll always consider. And if you're building your own plan, something to make sure that you look at as well. And then it's all also plotted against a timeline for execution, either by yourself or by Coterie. So this is an example showing each tactic and how it builds within a campaign. So you fill up the funnel right over here, and then you engage the further you go into. So at each stage pushes that prospect further down the funnel. It's also a really useful way for you and your partners to see the split in teams as far as activity goes, so that you know who you need to get buy-in from internally. So for example, it could be regional marketing teams or the sales teams. And it's a good way to call it out in the go-to-market so that everybody's aware right at the start. And this is another example of a flow working, as we provided these in a couple of formats for each go-to-market. Some people absorb information easier when it's visual like this. Some prefer the detail like the previous slide. So whether you run it or whether you'd like Coterie Partner Marketing Services to drive it for you, we'd recommend including a flow like this just so that all bases are covered.